another way to look at it is that all time exists now. And so you're not actually going anywhere. You're simply just shifting your consciousness into a different timeline that actually is here now, because time isn't linear. That's just one of the things that we've been taught, but that isn't necessarily real. So you are a point of light, point of infinite consciousness. And in the matrix that we have constructed to live in the 21st century, that point of light is reduced to a sliver. It's a wedge now because it's starting to open up. So what the future entails is this opening and opening and opening, where we all begin to experience directly in our physical body our infinite potential.
You're pointing to something, this whole other domain of knowledge, of experience, of who we are, that we haven't been taught about or had access to.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offence to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history. And let's make war history.
Hey David, hey Alenka, and hello Laura, good to meet you. Thank you for coming back on. It's been a while, David. And you, Alenka, it's been an absolute while. We're going to have a conversation about the work that you do. Plus also, if you want to let us know about how things are shaping up energetically over the next few months or so, that might be useful. We're recording this on Monday, the 16th of June at 11:20 a.m. British summertime. We have the solstice coming up this Saturday, the 21st of June. But first, David, Alenka, do you guys just want to introduce yourself and say what you are and who you are and what you do and why you are?
All these questions.
Yes.
Yeah,
and when are you as well?
Well, we're basically all the time, since we're here on this planet in this life. We are David and Alenka. We are the energy doctors. Our purpose is to create heaven on earth. And we do that with everything, like through all the services that we offer, which is, for example, if you come to the islands, we do tours to the spiritual sites on Malta and Gozo, and we do private sessions, and we have an online course which is running right now, and that we offer retreats as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's about. I think I didn't forget anything, did I?
No.
And we've done quite a few videos together.
We have.
You're on the island of Malta, and I know, David, you sent me something a few weeks ago about some underwater site or something, some historical sites. Do you want to say a little bit about what Malta has and how it ties in with what you do as energy doctors?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of your viewers will be aware via Graham Hancock or whoever that around 12,000 years ago there was a massive cataclysm, some kind of flood, end of civilization is what people suspect happened. There's a lot of interesting stuff on top of Malta, things that have been built since that time, and maybe some stuff that was built before that cataclysm as well on Malta, you can see evidence for. But what's really interesting, the video that got so many views was, it was a client, she'd come out with us on the Monday, and she said on Tuesday she was going diving with her partner who has a dive business. And they were 35 meters deep offshore. So the last, you can ask ChatGPT, the last time the standard narrative says the sea level was 35 meters lower is pre that cataclysm. And what there's evidence of 35 meters below sea level is structure, like steps cut into rocks and structure, cut rock 35 meters deep, which suggests that is the previous civilization you're looking at.
That's extraordinary. That's really extraordinary. And one of the things that I think is coming out more and more, that there's so many things that we've been told that aren't accurate, more and more and more, including our history and almost like our prehistory. Because I've watched the Graham Hancock series and I'm like, oh, okay. And then what he says ties in with the Yuga cycles and many other folklore, indigenous peoples or traditional peoples' mythologies.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that tie in with your work as energy doctors, and why are you in Malta?
Why are we in Malta? Do you have an answer for that?
Why are we on Malta? Well, Malta's a good place to start something at the moment, because it has so much ancient history. And because, so reading the books that I've read and studying the things that I've studied and helped so many clients go through past life regressions now, it's pretty clear to me that Malta played a very significant role in this ancient civilization that's pre-ours. That Malta was a central hub, like a capital city of that civilization. So it's quite key that we're here, because the energies that are returning to our Earth, as we waken up to this prehistory, what's also happening is some of those energies that have been lying dormant are awakening. So we've been doing some mission work around the planet to prime certain crystals, which were active during the time of the ancient civilization. It was a much more crystalline structure that the society had. So some of our work has been from Malta, has been guiding a group of people to activate 12 crystals around the world.
Wow, okay. Bloody hell. Now, I'm just thinking about what you said about crystals, because in the city where I live, there's a shop that sells crystals, just loads and loads of crystals. And I think for business reasons, they moved it into the lounge of their home. And then my wife went to visit to buy some crystals, and the my daughter went with her, felt the energy in the house, and the woman was saying that her and her husband don't need to sleep anymore. They don't sleep because there's just so much energy from all these crystals that she has in there. Right? It's just, and I'm like, there is way much more than we know. There's way, way, way much more than we know. And then David, and I will come to you, Laura. Right? You may not know this, but I've been doing a series of videos with a Vedic astrologer. And what I do is I give her the time and date when a particular blockchain was launched. She talks about Bitcoin and other Bitcoins. That's how much she knows about crypto, right? And I'll say, okay, this one was launched on such and such a date. She looks at the chart and then she tells me it's like this. She says, oh, this one's very hidden. The governments won't like it. They won't like this one. It's designed to be hidden. Monero. And then she says, oh, this one, when they made this one, when I looked at the chart of this one, it made me laugh. This one made me laugh. Dogecoin. She's done 9 of these videos. Every single one, she's described them accurately just from the chart. Now, why I say that, well, people are going to watch those videos, right? But also, there's so much that we don't know. And there's so much, I think, new forms of knowledge, or rather, old forms of knowledge resurfacing. But when you say energies are returning from where? Where did they go? And why are they coming back now?
Well, they're coming back because we do the work on the ley lines, and Laura is a big part in that as well. We do the work on the ley lines, which are basically like the meridians of the planet. If you've heard of energy flows through your body, right? That's meridians. Your body has meridians. The planet has meridians. So we're working on this like clearing those energy lines so that the energies can flow freely again. And that's so we've designed the world the way it is right now to make the experiences that we're making at this time, and that is not necessarily all pleasant, as we know, but it is. We came here to learn all these things, and there was a time though before the flood and everything, where we had heaven on earth and where we had all that knowledge, right? The civilization that Graham Hancock mentions and everything. And so all of that was here before, and it was like in the rocks here, for example, right? Things like that can be saved in crystal, and so they are here. And once you activate, and I mean they're all over the planet, and once you reactivate them, they can start, like, yeah, they have been dormant, and now they sort of reawaken with us together as humans. So that's basically the program. The program.
And another way to look at it is that all time exists now. And so you're not actually going anywhere. You're simply just shifting your consciousness into a different timeline that actually is here now, because time isn't linear. That's just one of the things that we've been taught, but that isn't necessarily real.
No, I've had that experience myself through certain practices. Yeah. Okay. And Laura, L for Laura and L for ley and lines. You want to say what your relationship is with David and Alenka, and then bring you in and why you're here and who are you and why and when?
Yeah, big question. I can start with how I know David and Alenka, I guess. I met Alenka on one of my very first times in Gozo, where we both live, which is an island next to Malta. And at the time I was living on Malta, and I did a retreat in Gozo, a 3-day healing retreat, you could say. And I ended up at a Christmas dinner with Alenka, and I even remember we had like Christmas hats on. So it was kind of like straight away, like we're family. And then 5 years later, we're still very much connected. So I didn't have to do anything, and life just brought me things, I guess. Yeah. And then I met David at a couple of community events. I knew of you, David, but it's in the last year, I'd say, that we've really connected on a deeper level. Yeah. As friends, and me doing some of their programs, as well as actually exchanging our different offerings we do.
Okay. And then ley lines are, I suppose, because I've done shiatsu many years ago, so I understand from traditional Chinese medicine, meridians, channels of energy. And for people not familiar, you might think of like the way arteries and veins carry oxygen and blood around the body. Meridians are similar channels that carry energy or chi or life force or prana around the body. And then ley lines, David, I really liked your explanation, because it was always puzzled me, what are they, right? Well, they're the meridians of the earth, where energy moves through the earth. So then I can also get it as a fractal, as a self-repeating pattern that repeats at a much larger scale. So then because Alenka said something about you and ley lines, Laura.
Oh, excuse me, that's an alarm. Yes, I am very much connected to the earth, you could say. And working with the ley lines isn't something I chose. It kind of found me, this path. I even hesitate to say ley lines and stuff because it's become an overused term in many places now, and a lot of people are saying they're doing it, but yeah, so it's not something I like to go around actually telling people I do, to be honest. But yeah, I've traveled a lot in my life, and I actually look back at my whole life and I feel it was actually preparing me for what I'm doing now, but I didn't know that. So it's just been more in my conscious awareness the last few years of what I'm actually doing, and to follow the guidance I get to go to certain places before I know why.
Okay.
So it's really about trust.
And what is it that you're doing? What do you do?
Not much, because it's happening on a very subtle level.
Okay. Okay, all right, good. Well, there goes that line of inquiry for this interview.
To most people, it wouldn't even look like you're doing anything.
That's right.
That's how amazing it is.
Okay, well then let's move on to ley lines.
Laura is a very good student, right? She listened to what we had to say about do nothing unless told to by the divine, and that's the key to coming back to yourself, finding your guidance, finding the inner voice that people speak about, right? The intuition, to have all that more present. It's about stillness. And we've been trained, which is one of the things that is not necessarily necessary, and that we learned, or that was taught wrong, or it was taught for a purpose. And it's all this doing, right? That we have to do things all the time, and we have to work, and we have to pay taxes, and we have to do this and that and the other, and then
we have to do things quickly, don't we?
No, exactly, we don't. It's the other way around. So it's more about doing less and coming and that way coming into your center and being able to receive the guidance that Laura just mentioned. So yeah, she's doing really well.
Okay. Well, now that does make absolute sense.
Yeah.
I suppose moments of pensiveness. I'm thinking of Otis Redding song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. That sort of expresses it. You know, there's a beauty in that. Just sitting and being.
Although sometimes I was thinking about a lady that I've been working with on the ley line. She's one of my mentors. And we were actually driving in a storm to one of the main temples in Malta. And we were actually having to consider, do we abort because this weather's so crazy? And then we actually got stuck in the temple for half an hour because of this crazy storm. So it's not always just that peaceful. I mean,
sure,
there's challenges that are like set up to see how willing you are to keep going. I'd say it's not been the easy path in many ways, but it's definitely worth it.
Yes. Well, I came across something on my X feed about a woman in India. I don't know if she's still alive or not. I think she still might be. And she does a lot of meditative practice. And they've done lots of experiments on her about her brainwave patterns. And she's so well in charge or responsible or owns her own frequencies that regardless of what's going on with her, so they presented her with all these different stimuli and everything, and she's just on this very, very even keel. Really, really even keel. And all the scientists are like, oh, how'd she do that? Right? Versus, someone who rushes around or whatever, perhaps in child protection and got to do this and got to do that and everything and got to do this and got to do that. Terrible way to carry on. Anyway. So
I still to come into the doing. I have to constantly practice the other thing as well. It's so ingrained, the doing. So it's not always easy to access that, but the more you do it, it is a practice. So.
Absolutely. And I don't meditate, but I do have friends who've meditated. And I know, David, when I first spoke to you, you talked about how you'd meditate, I think for 3 years, pretty much, might even be longer, just meditating away from people. That does cause shifts from what I've heard and what I've witnessed.
Well, if you don't mind me saying it, Matt, we're starting to talk more about contemplation as a better way of explaining the process. Because people have this idea about meditation that you have to sit and you have to quieten the mind or get it to go silent. And that's not the job. Contemplation is more about gaining clarity in oneself. And I like the idea of like the mind and the heart and finding clarity in those two places. Because as you go through this process, what I found and what I've observed everyone goes through is you're not silencing anything. You're just gaining more and more clarity in your thought process and in your heart coherence. So for me, meditation oftentimes gets people to think, well, I should just shut up my mind, when actually it's the opposite. It's really about becoming clearer and clearer and clearer and more focused. That's for me actually what is happening here. And meditation is just a tool to get you into that coherent state where you have that surrounding environment begins to resonate at a different frequency, because we're bringing these new energies through us as much as through the planet. And so it's that calming the nervous system, that stopping being fixated with what have I got to do now in that state, and just becoming this calm vessel for the divine energies to come out of. That's the job as we see it.
That's extraordinary, David. Absolutely extraordinary. The whole notion of contemplation, I found what you said very provocative, like thought-provoking. And then it can be, like the Otis Redding song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, or stroking your cat. That's contemplated, so it becomes a whole lot more accessible.
Definitely, yeah. It's meditation is for a lot of people still. It seems like this complicated, very far away thing that you have to sit in a certain posture and you're not allowed to move or whatever. But that's not happening. Like you can even, like what I find very meditative is if I put up the washing, like I have, it's a very sensual activity, right? And I just take my time and I let my thoughts like go. And so, but obviously I'm doing something with my hands, they're busy, but it's like it's all like really calm state of yeah, just contemplating. Yeah. And that's, yeah, it's more about this slowing down than having a certain practice of meditation which is fixed and
Yeah.
very rigid again, right? It's not about this rigidness. We don't need that anymore. It's more about the flow of the energies and, yeah, just being a bit more calmer than we're used to. Yeah.
Being mindful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you're
Exactly.
saying, being mindful. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And Laura, you've done David's and Alenka's courses, the Energy Doctors, energy-doctors
.com.
.com. Okay. Used to be .net, but it's .com. energy-doctors.com. I'll have all the links in the description below, including to your YouTube channel. So you've done their courses. So what did you do? What did you get out of it? What was the difference that they made?
I must admit, I actually resisted it a little bit, as I've done with much of what I'm doing now. I've tried many things to distract myself and not step onto this path, I must say. But still saying that, I'm still quite young to be doing it. From the age of the people I look around me who are also doing this stuff, I am pretty young. So, but since I did the first one, so I've done the Ascension training, and then I've also done their Unity Consciousness coaching program.
Yeah. Okay. And
sorry, that's my alarm again.
We can't hear it. Okay, good. Come across, all right. So, and what difference has it made? What was it like before? What did you do during? And what was it like after?
It's definitely another layer of depth of awareness of knowing who I am on a soul level. That's what I can say. And that's what it's interesting. David talks about that because when we're in the doing mode, it's very like external. But with this stuff, it's about more going like deeper. We think of ascension as actually like lighter, and we are, but that's actually requires us to go deeper into ourselves. And yeah, that's the process I see it as. I don't know if I want to call it work, but it's been a big focus of mine for myself the last year or two, so that I become more in integrity to work when I'm holding others, which is what I'm going to be doing and I'm setting up currently now. So I feel like it's really part of building my foundations within myself. Yeah, so I've been aware of what's going on in the world. You could say I've been down the rabbit hole for probably 8 or 9 years. And this feels like one of the pieces in the puzzle which has helped me accept that the world is actually not set up for the general population's benefit in many ways that I don't need to say right now. But you know what I mean. But coming to Gozo, I would say the land here, just being on the land without even doing the courses of David and Alenka, my own evolution has just gone like zoop, and I don't know if it's going to the temples or just being in the frequency of the Mediterranean and the waters and living a more healthy life. I'm better when I'm living in the sun. I've just actually been home for the last couple of weeks in the UK, and I must admit it was very good to get back. Although I love my family and I love going home, and I miss my dog very much. My dog is living with my mum right now in the UK. She's from Gozo, and I actually got her through Alenka, so thank you very much. That came in through Alenka. So without going into too much detail, yeah, so I'd say it's helped me remember more of who I am, more awareness of who I am. And I would say I felt so safe in their container because they're holding a very space of unconditional love and non-judgment. It's allowed me to feel safe to go deep because I've worked with people before where I haven't felt that and I kind of close up, and you do have to feel very safe. And I find that if we're in that survival mode of going, it's not as easy to tap into this. So it does require some sort of level of changing your life. which I think kind of happens naturally when you say yes to it. But I did resist my past. It's worth saying that. It wasn't like I was like, yes, I'm all in. It was like, it took me a while of this nudging. And the first one I did with Alenka, you actually came round to my house the day before, I think, and we had a drink, a cacao or a tea together. And you said you were starting a program, and I hadn't felt ready because my story at the time was, well, the ascension's already happening. Why do I need to train? Like, it's already, life is kind of hard enough as it is at the moment with everything going on. But actually, when you asked me that you had another one running the next day, something was like, it felt right. And I've got to know that feeling now, the intuition, when it felt exciting. Whereas before, when you asked me, it actually didn't feel exciting. So, and then you also said that our dear friend Zach was joining and he was going to be on it. So that was also another reason to join. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed all the calls. I loved it. And David's channelings are incredible to help you go to that place.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to try and translate that. Right? Because I do most of my videos are about cryptocurrencies or macroeconomics. You know, I'm recording a video later on this week with Tom Luonga and Alex Craner. We'll be talking about the wars, and I recorded a video about the role of the City of London in global politics for the last 400 or 500 years, right? And then you come along and say all that, and David and Lenka have been here before, and I did it. It's like, what are you talking about, right? And I don't mean to be rude, but it's taken something for me. I have journeyed, David, you know, since we first started having our conversations, right? And discovered things about myself. And I think that's what you're pointing to. There's what I can see about myself and I already always know. But I think what you're talking about is the discovery of yourself as an energetic being is what happens out of or what you're getting access to, perhaps out of your course with David and Lenka, but also maybe other stuff that you've done. So when you said about something at the beginning about knowing yourself, so you know, there's a way that I regard myself as flesh and blood and bone and everything, and then I got thoughts and stuff, but from what I've learned about science, but that doesn't explain consciousness. David.
Unlimited consciousness. So you are a point of light. Let's call you a point of light, a point of infinite consciousness. And in the matrix that we have constructed to live in the 21st century, that point of light is reduced to a sliver, a thin, it's a wedge now because it's starting to open up now. So what the future entails is this opening and opening and opening where we all begin to experience directly in our physical body our infinite potential. So what Laura is explaining to you is the process of slowing down enough to make contact internally with the infinite source.
That's extraordinary.
But your words, Rich, were quite good before, because you said you're getting to know yourself as an energetic being. I think that is like sort of a good translation for where David just went a bit more into detail, because that's what it is, right? We are very much connected, like, right, to the one consciousness, and we are connected to the ground. We are humans. We have this body, but there is much more to us, and yeah, that's about getting to know that. That's really good words. Yeah.
And in the course, we think about there being 7 levels that your energetic body exists at while you're here in physical manifestation. And we look at where is that energetic body trapped on each of those 7 levels. Because if you believe in reincarnation, which we fully do, then you've been here many times before. And your karmic patterning has you trapped at each of those 7 levels in a particular way. And so our philosophy is one can free oneself at all those 7 levels, and then one can bring in all of that infinite energy into the body.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm just blown away by what you're saying in a good sort of way. And I think the challenge is, I know, David, you can ride a bicycle. I don't know if you, Alenka, can, or you, Laura, can, right? But David and I, we've cycled together. I can ride a bicycle, he can ride a bicycle. I think we'd be at a complete loss to try and describe and explain balance to each other. How do we do that, right? Because it's purely experiential. So then what you're talking about, Laura, is putting into words something that's beyond language, that can't be articulated. The language, the representation isn't the thing. And I hear that with you, David. And I'm thinking, I had an experience a few weeks ago where I was with a cousin of mine, whom I know you've met. And I've heard this as a concept, like how our thoughts are energy and everything. But I had this as an actual experience where I saw my thoughts forming into energy and rippling off into the, I don't know what it is, the unified field of consciousness or whatever, right? But it's quite amazing to see. Now, me talking about it would be like me talking to you about balance, because it's not the same. The actual talking about it is not the same as the experience, but I think you're pointing to something, this whole other domain of knowledge, of experience, of who we are, that we haven't been taught about or had access to. And I want to go back to what I said, is that modern science can't explain consciousness. And it's not something that's drummed up by the mind. That's what I think. Mind doesn't create consciousness. Consciousness is already there. I've got that. Okay. Laura, is there anything else you want to say about the work that you've done with David and Alenka, and what you're going to be doing and what you do?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think if you're going to do this work, it's important who is holding you through that. They've kind of helped me to help myself, because at the end of the day, only you can really feel this stuff and really know what's going on. So I really appreciate that about them, because they're not saying, oh, you need us to get to feel this and get to this point. They're saying, here you go, here's some information, we'll hold you, and then they let you go and kind of do that. So I think that's really important, because everyone has got their own connection and their own way to this path. There's no like one way, and I like that ethos about that. And this is just, it feels like just the beginning for me right now. That's how if I had to put words to it, like it's just the tip of the iceberg. But I also think that what you do is very important with the crypto, and that's a whole world that I want to get into, but I don't know much about. So we've all got our focuses for a reason, I guess.
Yes. Well, okay, and I'm sure there are people around you that can help you out with that. And of course, subscribe, comment, like, all that business. What you're talking about, Laura, I think you're far more immersed in this whole philosophy, or I don't want to diminish it in any way, right? But how do I talk about it, right? In this whole way, this thinking, this new domain that's opening up, than I am. But I do get the same sense of what you're saying, that there are energetic shifts happening, and that human beings are being impacted, and we are waking up. And then the little bit of astrology that Asher, the astrologer, has done with those altcoins, will play it out on a much larger scale. Will it works with planetary changes as well? Okay, so now, David, do you want to let us know, because there's a lot of shit going down. Could you please sort it out and bring about peace real quickly?
I remember it was the Friday after the Grenfell Tower fire, right? And I was seeing Alain Newell. He was like my wise old man. I hope he doesn't mind me calling him a wise old man, but he's in his 80s now.
Mm.
I used to see him every week, and I spent an hour with him on the Friday after the Grenfell Tower fire. And I knew there was a mob preparing to go down to the town hall in Kensington to protest against the council there. And all I wanted to do was to go down to the town hall and ask them to stop. But it wasn't my role to do that.
Right.
And I look at the violence in the world in the same way. It's not my role to stop people killing each other. That's their karma. It's part of the learning mechanism that the planet is going through, so that we don't repeat the Second World War, so we don't repeat the catastrophes that this planet has had when previous civilizations have come to cataclysmic ends because of the result of violence. And we're really just going through the karmic return. People are re-experiencing those kind of deaths and those kinds of experiences, but it's like it's on real time because of X and because of YouTube. It's like we're actually seeing what could potentially be the destruction of a planet. I don't think it's going to be this time, but we're all getting to look at it visually or to experience it, so we can finally learn as human beings that we don't have to do this to each other anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And then there is a new age coming. We're moving into it. You know, if I want to use, I can make reference to the yuga cycles, but there is a new age coming, and the old has to be destroyed or deconstructed for the new to emerge. So I do get that. And then the other thing that I want to say that I have a sense of is that consciousness is love. Consciousness is love. And then what we're getting to see is what happens when we lose sight of that and how painful that is. And then what there is for us to do is to bring ourselves back to love. Okay. David, Alenka, Laura, anything else you want to say?
Well, you just took my last words away, so that's fine.
Well,
That's just really good. Thanks very much.
so welcome. You're so welcome. And it is like, I haven't done your courses, but, you know, having these conversations with you over time, I'm being impacted. So what would it be like to actually be in an online course or an in-person course? You're on a retreat with you in the beautiful island of Malta, which I haven't visited yet. Okay. So I'll have the links to energy-doctors.com, and you can find out about their work, and do follow them on YouTube and their other places, and do check them out. And there is something for us to keep presencing love, return to love, and just be love.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.